So today we have the last four verses of Ish Upanishad lined up. I'll start with verse number 15. I will chant. हिरण्मयीन् पात्रेण सत्यशापिहितं मुखम् तत्त्वं पूषन्न पावृणु सत्यधर्माय दृष्टये. So the verse translates to the face of truth, referring to God, is covered by a golden vessel. O nurturer, please remove the cover to allow me, who has followed the path of truth and dharma diligently, to behold you, or behold God. So let's take this up word by word. Hiranyamayin patre. So Hiranya means gold in Sanskrit. Hiranyamayin patra is a vessel. So Hiranyamayin patre becomes in a golden vessel. Satyasya. So Satya is truth. Satyasya becomes of truth. Apihitam is covered. Mukham is face. Tat that. Tvam your. Pushanna is one who nurtures, who nourishes us. Apravanu is remove. Satya dharmaye. So Satya and Dharma, the follower of truth and Dharma, drishtaye can see or can behold. So the complete translation is the face of truth or God is covered by a golden vessel. O nurturer, please remove the cover to allow me, who has followed the path of truth and dharma diligently, to behold you. So let's read it or chant it together. Hiranmayin patren satyasyapi hitam mukham tatvam pushana pavrinu satya dharmaye drishtaye. So this is a very interesting and very the tone of the Upanishad is changing with this verse, and we'll take this up in detail. Now, something about the verses and the discrepancy, or somewhere it was in a different set. I just thought I'll just cover that up with you. So, as I had mentioned when we started, that Ish Upanishad or Ishavasya Upanishad is the 40th chapter of the Yajurveda. Now, the Vedic text differs from the Upanishad in the following ways. Okay, so firstly, the verses 12, 13, and 14 appear in the Veda before the verses 9, 10, and 11, and verses 15 and 16 have been put after verse 17. So this is the set of verses that we are covering today. And the wordings of this 15th verse are slightly different. Also, the verse 17 of the Veda has been split into two verses, 17 and 18 in the Upanishad. So the long and short of it is that we are covering the Upanishadic text. So we have 18 verses, whereas if you go to chapter 40 of the Upanishad, you will find that there are only 17 verses, because the last verse has been split into two verses, right? So that is one, and the sequence of the verses is slightly different. And verse 15, the wordings is slightly different, but we are going with the Upanishad version of the text. It doesn't uh, really matter too much. So today's verses 15 and 16 are actually the prayers to the sun god. So according to our ancestors and in the Indian culture, Surya god is the best visible manifestation of that absolute god. And because the entire solar system is controlled by the sun. Also, as an aside, because I like to bring out certain facts about our great civilization that we tend to overlook, that the Indians were never confused about whether the earth moved around the sun or the sun moved around the earth. So we were very clear that the sun is the center of our universe. And here I would like to, and so this is what we are reading in the Vedas and the Upanishads. So this is something which we date conservatively to 5,000 years from today, 5,000 years ago from today. And I would like to highlight that in the Western science, the clergy was controlled the uh, scientific community, and they felt the the Vatican and the popes, that they are the center of the universe. So in this Western science, when Copernicus said, he theorized actually about the heliocentric theory, that it is the earth that revolves around the sun and not the sun revolving around the earth. So the uh, uh, Western science prior to Copernicus did all their uh, scientific calculations, experiments with the theory that it is the earth which is the center of the solar system, and all other heavenly bodies revolve around the earth. This is to make the clergy more powerful. That was the implication. But when a lot of experimentation and phenomena were going unexplained, or there were aberrations, so Copernicus said, theorized that if the all these calculations and experiments and phenomena are completely explained if we follow the heliocentric theory. But that was a theory. Now, in 1610, when Galileo, who had discovered more powerful telescopes, he, with the evidence, promoted the heliocentric theory of Copernicus and claimed that it is the earth which revolves around the sun and not the other way around. He was persecuted by the church, and the Vatican condemned Galileo in 1633. So this is, the first half of the 17th century. Galileo was condemned and he was threatened with a burning at the stakes by the Vatican. So Galileo took back his statement and he lived under house arrest for the rest of his life. All this is in the public domain. You can check it out. And then it took 359 years and the leadership of Pope John Paul II to recognize the wrong. And in 1992, he formally apologized for the Galileo case, as it's so called, in first of the many apologies which were rendered during his papacy. So this is just to bring to your attention that our culture had no doubts about these fundamentals in the nature around us. And you can imagine the amount of advances that our science would have made over those 5,000 years till 17th century, when this mess was sorted out in the Western science. In the right. Anyway, back to the verse. So that was just an aside. So now what the seeker is saying, the seeker says, the word we are using, he is that is being used is satya dharmaye. That means a diligent follower of satya and dharma. So that is the seeker, as well as satya and dharma itself, or the ultimate satya and the ultimate dharma, which is God. So the word and the verse consequently refers to both the devotee and to the object of devotion, which is God. So the seeker is saying that now I have followed this path and I have become God conscious, or I'm Satya conscious and Dharma conscious, as opposed to world consciousness, right? And again, that let's just recap what is world consciousness and what is God consciousness. We are all essence of that Paramatman, or that Paramatman is within all of us, right? But we don't identify with that Paramatman because we have covered ourselves with vasanas and desires. So our brilliance, which is the same as the brilliance of the sun, is actually tarnished by vasanas and desires. An example that we took up a lot during the Bhagavad Gita was the brass vessel. right? The brass itself is bright and shining. So the brass vessel is also bright and shining. But when it contacts the air, it oxidizes and loses its luster. When we polish it to make it shine again, so we use a suitable substance, a mixture or brasso to remove the impure surface coating of the patina, and then the vessel regains its luster, right? So, similarly with us, we are true and we are pure. But when we contact the world, we add vasanas and desires and lose our truth and purity, or we lose our luster, or we lose our God consciousness. So, this is God consciousness. By following the righteous path based on Satya and Dharma, we remove the surface impurity. So, the path of Satya and Dharma acts like the brasso, the cleaning agent that helps us regain our luster and regain our God consciousness. Just as the sign, the brass, the shine of the brass is a quality of brass, and it is not a quality of the scrubbing, the cleaning agent. The cleaning agent just removes the outer impurities. Similarly, God is within all of us. It is the ignorance and the vasanas which are the patina on us. Now, knowledge of the Vedas, scriptures, etc., serves like the cleaning agent on us. Because what is happening, we are conditioned when we are interacting in the world, and we are based on our vasanas and desires, we start identifying with what is happening in the world, which, and we think that that is what is real. It's just like as you enter a movie hall and there's nothing on the screen is white. As the movie starts, the projector plus the CD creates that image in front of us. Similarly, we are pure consciousness. The vasanas plus our sense organs create our world, which appears to be our reality. And we start identifying with this projection. And we are hesitant to remove the medium of vasanas and desires. So that is what prevents us from returning to our original nature. So in this Upanishad, now the seeker is saying what? The seeker is saying that I've diligently followed the path of Satya and Dharma. And if you read what was the path of Satya and Dharma in this Upanishad, verses 1, 2, and 3, and then the three sets of verses 9, 10, and 11, and 12, 13, and 14, which talked about how to contact the world, and how to function in the world. 8 qualities of God were covered in verses 4 and 5 of this Upanishad. And then verses 6 and 7 of the Upanishad covered that state of perfection where the seeker sees the oneness principle across the board, and in that state is not attached to anything and is not saddened by anything. So the devotee seeker here has diligently followed the path of Satya and Dharma, and has therefore purified himself or herself. And therefore, the seeker considers himself or herself qualified to make this request, which the verse is putting forth, where the devotee says that, as per your command, as per what was ordained by you, I have followed the path of truth and righteousness in my conduct diligently. You, the nurturer, have nurtured me on this path. Now, please show me the ultimate Satya and the ultimate Dharma, or yourself. You have hidden yourself by the cover of this material world or intense brightness, as we'll see in the next verse. But by following diligently the path of truth and righteousness, I am now qualified to behold you. Please bestow your grace and gratify me, your devotee, by removing this self imposed golden cover. So that was verse 15. Moving on to verse 16. भूषन्निकर्षेयं सूर्या प्रजापत्याव्यूरश्मीन् समू तेजयते रूपं कल्याणतमं तते पश्यामि योऽसावसौ पुरुषः सोऽहमस्मि. So the verse translates to, O nurturer, O solitary seer, or O visionary, O controller, O effulgent one, O Lord of beings, arrange your rays and collect your brilliance, so that I may see that form of yours which is the most benevolent. The one God which is within you is also me. So let's break this up and see, look at the Sandhi Vichhed. Pushanne is one who nurtures. So, O nurturer. Ekarshe. So, Ekarshe is from the union of Ek Rishi. So, that means the solitary visionary. So, that is what it translates to. Yam is the controller. So, like Yamraj is that Lord who controls our life, birth and death, controls the time. So Yam is the controller. Surya is one that is effulgent, radiant, brilliant. Prajapatya, so Praja is the beings and Pati is the Lord. So Prajapatya becomes Lord of beings. View represents collect or disperse, basically remove, right? Rashmin Samu, so Rashmi we know is the beam rays and Samu is group. So Rashmin Samu becomes collection of rays. Tej is brilliance, Yat what, Te yours, Rupam form, Kalyantamam which is most benevolent. So Kalyanmayi, Tat that, Te yours, Pashyami I may see, Yah who, Asaw. So this, that means the sun's soul or uh, the enabler in the sun. I saw this. Purusha is that Uttam Purush or supreme being. Saha that Aham I, Asmi am. So the verse in grammatically correct English translates to O nurturer, O visionary, O controller, O effulgent one, O Lord of beings, arrange your rays and collect your brilliance, so that I may see that form of yours which is the most benevolent. The one that is within you is also me. So let's read it together. Verse number 16. Pushanne karshe yam surya prajapatya vyu rashmin samu tejah yate rupam kalyantamam tate paschami ya savasah purushah soham asmi. So again, we are continuing from the previous verse. The seeker or the devotee prays to that effulgent God, the sun god, to make its form available to the devotee to view, behold. So, devotee is asking God to collect its overpowering brilliance into itself, since it is blinding the devotee. And the it's too overwhelming for the devotee. Now, here we will pause. Does this remind you of something? This is the reference to the Bhagavad Gita.
The Virat
Even
roop of
even Arjun felt the same thing.
Yeah. Correct. So this will remind you of that was chapter 12, I think. No, 11. Chapter 11, right? The
11.
Vishnu Darshan Yoga, right? So Arjun had requested Lord Krishna to show him, if possible, to show him the vision of the cosmic form, that Vishnu Roop. So Lord had made all the facilities available to Arjun, had provided him with the divine sight so that he could behold the form. But Arjun, you may recollect, is so overwhelmed that he requests the Lord to come back to his benevolent form. So, very similar. So now here the seeker is already making the request. In the request is including that please make available to me or that benevolent form of yours which I can behold, right? On seeing that form, the devotee's life will be sanctified. And look at the statement. The seeker is, what is the seeker saying? That Paramatman that resides in the sun also resides in me, right? So that Purushottam that we are talking about again was covered in detail in chapter 15 of the Bhagavad Gita, which the title of the chapter was Purushottam Yoga. So where we talked about the Kshar, Akshar, and the Purushottam. So the Purushottam was which is beyond the perishable and the imperishable and is the enabler of all that we see around us, implying that the God is there in the entire creation, is also in the devotee and the living creatures. The implication of what the devotee is saying is that the seeker says that I see oneness in everything, in the sun god, in me, and in all the creatures. So I see the oneness principle and I have implemented it completely in my life. So now make yourself available for me to behold. Grace me with that. So that was verse number 16. Let's move on to verse number 17. I will chant. वायुरनिलमृतं थिदं भस्मानतं शरीरम् ॐ क्रतो स्मर क्रतं स्मर क्रतो स्मर क्रतं स्मर. So the verse translates to now as vital breath merges into the subtle air, as this body turns to ashes, O doer of deeds, remember God and remember all your deeds. And this is repeated, O doer of deeds, remember God and remember all your deeds. Let's take this up word by word. Vayu is the air, the prana, and anilam is to air, the element air. Amritam, what is immortal, indestructible. Ataha, now, idam, this, bhasmanatam. So bhasm is ashes, and bhasmanatam becomes reducing to ashes or to ashes. Shariram is body. Om, the word, which represents God. So, O God, krato, my deeds. Smara, remember. Kratam, what my deeds. Smara is remember. So now as vital breath merges into subtle air, as this body turns to ashes, O doer of deeds, remember God and remember all your deeds. This is what the verse means. Let's read it together. Vayur anilam ritam thetham bhasmanatam shariram om krato smar kratam smar krato smar kratam smar. So again, this is a beautiful and a very, I at least become very emotional with this verse. This verse and the last verse, 17 and 18, are actually prayers to the Agni god, the fire god. And they are particularly relevant at the time of death. See, the fire is of special significance in the Indian culture. Because when we talk of the five elements, the Panch Mahabhut, the five fundamental elements, they are in the sequence of from subtle to gross, they are space, air, fire, water, and earth. Right? So, fire is the first element that is visible. Fire is therefore seen as a medium to connect us to that unseen reality. So it's like, when we are having, normally we do the puja at home by ourselves, but when we have a special havan or uh, ritual, then we call the priest, because we feel that the priest might be better equipped to connect us, or whatever mistakes while chanting or while following the rituals we may be making, the priest will compensate, will be the medium to connect us to God. So we see that the pandit or the pujari as the medium to connect us to God. So in our tradition, fire is seen as the medium that connects us to that unseen reality, and it is central to a lot of Vedic rituals. In fact, the fire worship ritual, which was yajna of eh, called yagya earlier, is prevalent in a slightly diluted form as havan today. It's still prevalent. So this is the importance of fire god, which I thought I will cover. Now back to the verse. First and foremost, the eternity of soul, which is different from the body, is clearly implied. Now if you look at the what the verse is saying, as the vital breath merges into the subtle, and as this body turns into ashes, remember, oh God, help me remember my deeds and all my life that I have lived. Right? So it is implied that the soul is separate from the body. The soul is leaving its abode at the time of death, what is mentioned in the Bhagavad Gita very well, that, the body is cast aside and the soul takes up another fresher set of clothes. Now, that is the first thing. The second thing which is coming out very strongly in the verse is the importance of karma, because the second line is saying that, oh God, remember me and remember my actions. It's all on karma, right? So the importance of the actions is being emphasized in the second line. So these are the two great emphases that we must remember while we are chanting this verse on whenever we read the Upanishad. Now, the vital breath or the prana is referring to the five elements. And we studied in detail in Bhagavad Gita, chapter 7, about the Panch Mahabhut, the five fundamental elements, Akash, Vayu, Agni, Jal, and Prithvi, which are responsible for creation of the universe, including humans. And we also read how they form the basis of the microcosm and the macrocosm. Now, if we take out the Paramatman, so that pure consciousness, other than that, we have three more layers remaining: the gross body, which is the physical body, the subtle body, emotions and thoughts, and the causal body, seed personality. So, these three sheets, the gross, subtle, and causal, are being referred to as Vayu, Anil, and Amrit, respectively. Right? So, when we are talking about Vayu, we are talking about actually the gross body, the body that is visible to the eye and the scientific equipment. So you can go for a lab test and you can have some MRI, etc., done on you. So the gross body is being consigned to the flames, right? So, and all the elements, as we are being consigned to the flames, the body is going back to its elements. And this you may see that in case of this is very, very clear when you observe a dead body. The first thing is that goes out is the vital, the prana. And then gradually the body starts losing out, the heat. The body starts becoming cold, then the water, and then it becomes just gross. I mean, just what earth is remaining, right? So what happens is the spirit leaves and the five fundamental elements start leaving the body one by one. Now here the fact that the Ved is clearly saying bhasmanatam. That means we are reducing to ashes or we are cremating, right? So consigning the body to flames is not a heartless act. It is better than letting it rot underground and become an abode of maggot and worms. Further, the human body takes years to decompose, and it would lead to soil, water, and air pollution. Right? So, cremation is also environment friendly. And over generations, you may be reading that we have vertical burials, and very soon we'll start having stacked vertical burials. Therefore, the Vedas, what the Vedas are implying when we read verses like this, is that gross matter is being returned to its constituent elements. So the air in me is going back to the air, and the water in me is going back to that element, right? Then we come to the causal body, which consists of the vasanas and the desires, things which cannot be clearly perceived. That is carried over to the next birth. Now, Om is the closest description of uh, God. So, there is a whole Upanishad that we have, which is the Mandukya Upanishad, which is the shortest Upanishad, consisting of only 12 verses, which opens by declaring that Om, this syllable is the whole world. And after the Upanishad goes on to present various explanations on what that syllable Om signifies. So, at the time of death, it is important to remember God and our life, our actions, our karmas. So, the verse is recommending that we must reflect on our life and revisit the learnings so that when we die, they are at the top of our mind as we proceed towards our next birth. But even in this birth, chanting these set of verses helps us remind the transient nature of this life, keeps on telling us that someday our body will be consigned to flames. The body will go, which leads to detachment. And it propels us on the path of Satya and Dharma, as that is the only thing that will go with us. And it will also make us cautious in our current actions. So, this was verse number 17, the last verse for the day, which is verse number 18. I will chant. Agnena supatha Rayasman Vishwani Devavayunani Vidwan Yuyodhya Samjuhuranmino Bhuishtam Tena Muktim Vidim. So the verse translates to, O Agni, please take us on the righteous path towards wealth. O Dev, O God, you know all about our nature and deeds. Please remove our crookedness and wickedness from us. To this extent or to this end, we bow down, honor, and pray to you. So let's take this up word by word. Agni is, O Agni, O fire god. Nya, take. Supath is by the good path. Rai, towards wealth, so material, intellectual, and spiritual. Asman, us. Vishwani, all. Dev is, of course, God. Vayunani, ways, all our ways and tendencies, so nature and deeds. Vidwan, one who knows. Yuyodhi, remove. Asmat, from us. Juhuranam, crookedness, wickedness. Ena is sin. Bhuishtam, which is best. Te, to you. Namaha, bow down, honor you. Uktim, speak, pray, urge, vidhem, offer. So we translate this as, O Agni, please take us on the righteous path towards material, intellectual, and spiritual wealth. O God, you know all about our nature and our deeds. Please remove our crookedness and wickedness from us. To this end, we bow down, honor, and pray to you. So let's read it together. Agne Naya Supatha Rai Asmani Vishwani Dev Vayunani Vidwan Yuyodhe Sam Juhuran Meno Bhushtam Te Namuktim Vidhem. So the verse continues with the prayer to the fire god. The seeker is saying that please take us on the good path, supat. So path, English path comes from this path. Su is good. So supat becomes by the good path. So the seeker is asking for the righteous path towards any material, intellectual, and spiritual wealth. Then the seeker says that you know us. God knows us inside out, in and through all our thoughts and deeds. So God, who knows us so well, is the right one to guide us on the righteous path, to help us remove our crookedness and wickedness, to remove the disparity in our thoughts, words, and action, or thoughts, words, and karma. This is very important, and we'll just discuss this. This disparity is the biggest sin. The disparity in our thoughts. We are thinking of something, we are speaking something, and we are doing something completely different. So some examples I thought I'll bring out, because this is where we need to fix ourselves. That the owner of a company or a CEO constantly speaks about the importance of punctuality and hard work, but himself or herself is chronically late and continues to delegate all his or her work. So the words, that the importance, when the owner is saying that okay, it's very important to be punctual and do your own work, that's just words, because indeed the person is late and does not like to do his or her work, right? So this is a disparity between words and deeds. The second example is an individual. So some guest is coming in, and maybe you know you are not you don't want to meet the person, so you're annoyed by the relative's visit, but the person comes and you welcome them with a warm fake smile and do lavish hospitality. So again, you're annoyed at the thought level, and the words and deeds, what you are hospitable, great, and you serve them well. So words and deeds, but they are not aligned. Another example is a person thinks that they need to be healthier or maybe lose weight or something of that kind. So that is the thought. And the person tells everyone that okay, I'm starting out on a new health regime, words. But the person continues to eat unhealthy and skips the workouts. So the deeds are not aligned, right? So this is the biggest sin, and the seeker must work on removing this disparity between one's thoughts, words, and action. And to this extent, the seeker prays to God by bowing down and eulogizing the God. See, the thing we must understand is that God does not need our words of praise. But bringing so endears us to Him, because we use those words, and as we are saying those words, we are repeating the qualities that we see in God. And those are the qualities that we are trying to inculcate in ourselves. So as we speak those words, apart from endearing ourselves to God, we are also remembering those attributes of Paramatman. And you may recollect that in the Bhagavad Gita too, Arjuna continuously praised Lord Krishna, and Lord Krishna also had very good words to say for Arjuna. It is to encourage the other person as well. So that is what the seeker is saying, that take me on this good path and remove all my crookedness as my because the fire god, our body is consigned to flames, and the fire god is taking us. So you know all about my nature and deeds. Please remove my crookedness and take me towards on a good path towards wealth, whatever spiritual material wealth. So this Upanishad has taken the Jivatma from the worldly duties, gave us the glimpses of the Supreme to death and to moksha. With this journey now complete, we end the journey of this great Upanishad.